Welcome to the Law Society of America, your home for the strangest, most unbelievable, and often hilarious laws across the United States. If you think American law is always straightforward, think again. Today, we dive into one of the craziest laws in American history, one that has confused and entertained people for decades. Believe it or not, in the state of Arizona, it is illegal for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why in the world would anyone care where a donkey sleeps? And even more bizarre, why would a bathtub be the issue? Is this some kind of prank? Did someone just make this up? But no, this is a real law, still on the books in some parts of Arizona. And as ridiculous as it sounds, the story behind it is even wilder. Let's travel back to the year 1924. The setting is Kingman, Arizona, a desert town where cowboys, cattle, and wide-open ranges were just a part of daily life. In this quiet town lived a rancher who owned a donkey. Now, this donkey wasn't treated like most working animals. No, this donkey was special. The rancher had a big old bathtub, one that wasn't being used in the house anymore, and he placed it outside on his land. Maybe he meant to use it as a trough, or maybe he just forgot about it. But the donkey, clever and resourceful, found it to be the perfect napping spot. In the brutal Arizona heat, the bathtub provided shade during the day and a cool, cozy shelter at night. It became the donkey personal lounge, a luxury suite in the middle of the desert. And so, every day, the donkey climbed into that tub and rested like royalty. For weeks, maybe even months, the donkey enjoyed his porcelain palace with no issues. But then, disaster struck. A dam nearby burst after heavy rains. The sudden floodwaters rushed through the countryside, destroying crops, damaging homes, and dragging away anything not tied down, including the bathtub, with the donkey still inside it. As the flood surged through Kingman, it swept the helpless donkey for miles, floating in his bathtub like a furry, braying survivor in a porcelain lifeboat. Eventually, rescuers found the poor animal and brought him to safety, but the entire ordeal had caused a massive headache for local authorities and emergency services. They had to divert resources to search for the donkey, stop traffic in multiple areas, and even call in rescue equipment to recover the animal. People were angry. The town council was embarrassed. And so, in classic government fashion, they passed a law to make sure this exact thing would never happen again. The result? A new regulation was introduced, declaring it unlawful for donkeys to sleep in bathtubs in Arizona. It sounds insane, but it was a very real reaction to a very real and chaotic event. Now here's the thing, the law wasn't statewide at first. It started as a local ordinance. But as the story spread and lawmakers across Arizona heard about the bathtub donkey flood, some thought it was worth putting into writing elsewhere, just in case. Over time, the law remained on the books, untouched, unenforced, but never repealed. And today, in the age of smart technology and self-driving cars, it still exists. You can go online and find references to the statute in several Arizona towns. It's rarely enforced, of course. Law enforcement officers are not patrolling ranches looking for donkeys in tubs. But it has become part of the quirky legal history of the United States, a reminder of how strange, specific, and reactionary some laws can be. But what's more interesting is what this law represents. Laws like these, often called blue laws or legacy laws, are found across the country. Some are based on morality, some on outdated fears, and some, like this one, are created in response to a very specific event that, once resolved, never happened again. Yet the law stays. This isn't the only bizarre American law either. For example, in Alaska, it's illegal to wake a sleeping bear to take a selfie. In Florida, unmarried women who parachute on Sundays can technically be jailed. And in Connecticut, it's illegal to walk across the street on your hands. But Arizona's donkey law stands out. It's not just strange, it has a story. A flooded town, a floating donkey, a bathtub sailing through the desert, and a group of lawmakers who said, never again. This also tells us something about the nature of lawmaking in America. Sometimes, laws are reactive. Something strange or harmful happens once, and instead of just handling it as a one-time issue, lawmakers feel the need to codify a new rule. It's human nature to try and control chaos with regulations, even if the event was bizarre, rare, or freakishly unlikely to ever repeat. And while that may sound silly, it's actually part of how American legal systems evolved. Every law, no matter how odd, was written by someone who thought it was necessary at the time. That's why the U.S. legal code is filled with thousands of old, strange, and often forgotten laws. They pile up over decades, rarely removed, only occasionally enforced. In some cases, these laws are finally repealed when someone takes notice. In others, they become part of legal folklore, like the donkey in the tub. So what happens if someone breaks this law today? Realistically, probably nothing. You're not likely to be arrested or fined if your donkey takes a nap in your backyard bathtub. But if a flood comes and emergency teams have to rescue your donkey, you might be in for a serious conversation with the city council. What makes this even more fascinating is how much attention these laws get online. TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram are filled with creators highlighting weird laws like this, often with exaggerated skits or mock trials. Some even go out of their way to break the laws on camera, safely, of course, just to prove how outdated and strange they are. But behind the humor, there's an important truth. Every law, no matter how weird, started with a purpose. Maybe that purpose is gone now. Maybe it never really made sense in the first place. But it's there. It's written. And unless someone repeals it, it stays. So the next time you see a donkey in Arizona, be sure to check where it's sleeping. If there's a bathtub nearby, you just might be witnessing a crime in progress, at least according to the books. And remember, here at the Law Society of America, we dig through the weirdest corners of the legal world to bring you stories like this, stories that make you laugh, think, and maybe even shake your head in disbelief. Because sometimes, truth really is stranger than fiction. If you enjoyed this bizarre legal tale, make sure to subscribe to Law Society of America for more. We've got more wild laws coming from every state, some even stranger than this one. Leave a comment if you've heard of a weird law in your state, and we just might cover it next. Until then, stay curious, and keep your donkeys out of the bathtub.